Welcome back to this course on post-colonial literature. Today, we will continue with our discussion of Raja Rao's novel Kanthapura. Now, as you will remember, we are reading Raja Rao's Kanthapura vis-a-vis the Gandhian discourse of nationalism and decolonization. And in our previous discussion, we had primarily focused on two aspects of the Gandhian discourse. The first of these two aspects is the notion of a return to the village. Now, you remember that for Gandhi, the journey to reconnect oneself with the glorious India of the pre-colonial past involved a turning away from the urban centers where one is exposed to the quote unquote corrupting influence of the Western civilization and return back to the villages where the traditional Indian ways of life had remained unaffected by the colonial intervention. So, this trope of return is very significant in the Gandhian discourse of nationalism. But there is also another aspect, and this second aspect, which again we had discussed in a previous meeting, is about Gandhi's insistence to make nationalism mass based, to connect with the masses, right. So, for Gandhi, the nationalist project of creating a decolonized future for India, for instance, was not the solitary affairs of English educated individuals from the middle class who were engaged in an attempt to elevate themselves through their learning the code of the colonizers' culture and civilization. Rather, for Gandhi, it was not this elevation that informed the true path of nationalism, but rather it was an attempt to go down to the level of the masses and to reconnect with them. So, these are the two aspects, the two salient aspects of Gandhian discourse that we had talked about. And I had also said that Mutti, who is a central character in Raja Rao's novel Kanthapura, initially appears in the novel as an embodiment of both these two aspects of the Gandhian discourse. Thus, for instance, the novel tells us about Murthy's return to his native village Kanthapura from the city where he had gone to study in a university. Murthy has a vision of Gandhi while he is in the city, and this vision convinces him that his university education is quote unquote foreign, and his clothes too are foreign, and this realization makes Murthy promptly give up both his university education as well as his foreign clothes and return to the dumb millions of the villagers. This is how Gandhi speaks of the villagers in his Hind Swaraj, if you remember. Now, in the novel, Murthy's return to Kanthapura is also connected with the Gandhian notion of making nationalism mass based, because Murthy's arrival in Kanthapura leads him to organize the people of his village as well as the nearby Skeffington coffee estate into a non-violent struggle against the colonial authority. And his efforts to reform the village society earns him the reputation of being a local Gandhi, a local saint who replicates the figure of Gandhi for the villagers. Thus, Murthy's portrayal in this novel not only brings together the various traits of Gandhian ideology, but also beautifully presents in a fictional form the charisma and the appeal of the figure of Gandhi as a mass leader. But today I will argue that in this novel Raja Rao also introduces a strong element of criticism of the Gandhian discourse, and this note of criticism, though it is subtle, yet nevertheless it is all pervasive in the novel. So, today the lecture will primarily focus on this subtle but all pervasive critique of Gandhian ideology and Gandhian discourse that informs the novel Kanthapura. And to understand this element of criticism that is there in Raja Rao's novel, let us go back to the 2 points that we have already discussed. First, the return to the village, and second, the mass based nationalism. And let us see how Kanthapura both represents these 2 aspects of the Gandhian discourse and also undermines them, undercuts them, criticizes them. So, let us start, for instance, with Murthy's return to the village. If you read the novel, you will see that the narrator that Raja Rao uses in Kanthapura is an elderly Brahmin lady of the village Kanthapura, and her name is Achakka. And it is important to remember this, the fact that Kanthapura is narrated by someone like Achakka, and the reason for this is because Raja Rao uses the perspective of this elderly village lady Achakka to subtly undercut the Gandhianism that Murthy represents. And we see this in play quite early in the novel, when Achakka introduces to the readers her native village and its inhabitants. So, while talking about the Brahmin quarters, and she talks about these distinct caste based quarters that form the village geography, and we will return to these caste segregations later on in our discussion today. But Achakka, while describing the residents of the Brahmin quarters, talks about a character called Dori. And who is Dori? Well, Dori is a young man who is from Kanthapura, but who had left his native village and had gone to the city to become a university graduate. And Achakka tells us that though he was not very successful in his studies, Dori picked up quite a few new habits while he was in the city. So, he had, in Achakka's words, developed city ways, read city books, and even called himself a Gandhi man. Now, this repeated stress on the word city both shows an effort by Achakka to underline the foreignness of these new ways and new books to which Dore was exposed in the city, and also this repeated stress conveys a sense of disapproval on the part of Achakka. Now, this should immediately remind us of Gandhi's own characterization of the Western style university and the foreign ways of the city as evils that Indians should shun so as to escape from the corrupting influence of the satanic Western civilization. And so far, Gandhian discourse and Achakka's point of view is almost the same. But the irony here is, of course, that Achakka also classifies Dore's becoming a Gandhi man as a newfangled idea that he gets from the city. So, from Achakka's perspective, Gandhianism just like the city ways and the city books, is a thing that Dori picks up after he moves out of the ambit of his native village. So, ironically, the very city which the Gandhian discourse of nationalism presented as the den of vices and diseases is in Kanthapura presented as a space where young villagers like Dori gets exposed to the Gandhian ideals and they turn themselves into foreigners who are hardly recognizable by elderly villagers like Achakka. And therefore, Achakka's contempt for this Gandhi man Dori, who adopted city ways and city habits, is unequivocal. Now, the reason I dwelt on this assessment of Achakka, this assessment of Dori by Achakka, at such great length is not because Dori plays a very significant role in this novel. He is not a very significant character. In fact, he is hardly mentioned after these first pages. But Dori's significance, the reference to Dori, the significance of that lies in the fact that immediately after expressing her displeasure regarding him, Achakka introduces the character of Mutti for the first time. So, after this description of Dori, Achakka then immediately after that goes on to describe Murti, and Murti is introduced to the reader for the first time. And in contrast to Dori, Achakka praises Murti highly. Now, we must remember here that the career graph of Murti is almost an exact replica of Dori's, in the sense that just like Dori, Murti too went away from the village to the city to pursue the foreign university education, and he also, just like Dori, came under Gandhian influence in the city and became a Gandhi man, which eventually resulted in his return to the village. But as I mentioned, Achakka's attitude towards Murti is in sharp contrast to her attitude towards Dori. So, whereas Dori earns her displeasure, Murti is highly praised for leading his life in almost the exact same way. And the reason for this is not because Achakka takes a different view towards Murti's Gandhianism, but rather, and this becomes very clear in how Achakka tells us about Murti, her approval of Murti comes from the fact that Murti was a childhood friend of Achakka's own son Senu. Indeed, rather than praising Murti for becoming one of the Gandhi mans, villagers like Achakka, at least in the initial stage, remains thoroughly skeptical about the changes that Murti seeks to make in the village to spread the ideals of Gandhi. So, to understand this skepticism, let us look at a few instances. Let us take, for instance, Murti's attempt to popularize the use of charkha among the villagers. Now, the charkha and the weaving of khadi were perhaps the most important Gandhian symbols of the return to Indianness and the boycotting of the satanic Western civilization in the Gandhian discourse. So, Gandhi's call, therefore, to weave khadi was always accompanied by his call to do away with the foreign clothes, foreign made clothes. And indeed, Murti's return to the village from the city is initiated by his burning in a bonfire his foreign clothes along with his foreign university books. But his return to Kanthapura does not automatically mean that he returns to a life where the charkha and where weaving of the khadi is predominant. In fact, when Murthy asks the villagers to shun the foreign clothes and to weave khadi for themselves, a character called Nanjamma points out to Murthy that Brahmins do not spin and that such spinning is properly the occupation of the weaver caste. Now, here in Nanjamma's opposition to weaving, we come across a significant point which complicates our understanding of the Gandhian return as represented by Murthy. Murthy's activism in the village is strongly characterized by his opposition to the system of caste segregation. In fact, Murthy spends almost as much time trying to break various caste taboos as he is trying to mobilize the villagers for the anti-colonial cause. This makes Murthy confront age-old caste prejudices around which the entire village life is organized. And this is evident even in the way Achaka introduces the village in the first pages of the novel. So, for instance, as I told you that Achaka introduces the village landscape as divided into various quarters inhabited by specific castes. So, the village is a unity which has a number of segregating lines separating one caste from the other. Indeed, when the character Bhatta, and we will talk about Bhatta more later. So, Bhatta is the village priest and the money lender, and he also becomes the sort of primary enemy, the arch enemy of Murthy in the novel. So, when he also criticizes Murthy, his criticism is based on the fact that Murthy is attacking the age-old traditional caste system. So, Murthy's return to the village is therefore marked less by the desire to accept the traditional ethos of the village life and more by the desire to transform the village population into a homogeneous mass, which can then be directed against the colonial authority. Thus, the story of Murthy's return is not that of his smooth integration into the village, which is otherwise so exalted in the Gandhian discourse as the repository of the true Indian way of life. Rather, the story is of Murthy disrupting the regular pattern of the village life in Kanthapura. And this is not only evident in his efforts to break the various caste taboos, but also in his efforts to politically mobilize the women and bring them out of the domestic confines which the patriarchal way of the village life imposes on them. Thus, we see Murthy's anti-colonial movement foreground a figure like Ratna, who as a young widow with a mind of her own is detested by the patriarchal order of Kanthapura and is shunned as a quote unquote concubine. So, here again we see Murthy to be a disruptive and even foreign influence in the village life, and rather than he returning as a prodigal son who tries to assimilate himself into the existing rhythm of the village life, Murthy emerges as a major force which destroys many of the age-old practices that held the village together. But here I need to clarify that I am not judging any of Murthy's actions here in terms of whether they were morally the right things to do or not. What I am trying to point out is that Murthy's physical return to the village cannot be interpreted as a simplistic assimilation into the village life. In fact, Murthy's desire to transform the village to which he returns and his efforts to confront the evils of caste segregation and of patriarchy renders questionable the very idea of return. So, we are confronted with a question like, is a return to a golden age possible just by physically going back to the village life, which has largely remained untouched by the colonial influence, even though it is ridden by caste and gender discrimination. Now, here you see what Raja Rao is doing. Chinua Achebe is going to do the exact same thing in his Things Fall Apart, because like Achebe's novel, Kanthapura too brings out the fault lines that already plague the traditional indigenous society, even when it is bereft of the corrupting influence of colonialism. Thus, these two novels, both Kanthapura and Achebe's Things Fall Apart, make the notion of a simplistic return problematic as a decolonization strategy. Now, I would like to end this discussion on Kanthapura by talking about how, apart from the idea of return, the novel also criticizes the Gandhian attempt to make anti-colonial nationalism mass-based. Now, a superficial reading of the novel will perhaps convince the reader that Murthy does manage to kindle within the villagers a spirit of nationalism and transform them into a united opposition to the colonial authority by breaking the barriers of caste segregation and patriarchal narrowness. Yet a careful reading will reveal that the force of opposition and resistance that Murthy kindles within the villagers does not automatically get directed against the British rule. But before we discuss the complex dynamics of this anti-colonial movement that happens within the village of Kanthapura, let us for a moment consider the Skeffington coffee estate, because there too Murthy manages to organize an anti-colonial resistance. Now, the Skeffington coffee estate, we are told, is run by a British, and the novel describes how Indians from all over the country are brought there with false promises and are then forced to work there almost as bonded laborers. So, in other words, the coffee estate is presented as a site of barbaric violence and exploitation, where the line distinguishing between the British colonial exploiter and the poor Indian exploited is very clearly drawn, it is unmistakable. So, Murthy's call to resist the oppressions of the authority of the exploitative white man finds ready acceptance among the laborers of the coffee estate, and they almost immediately rise to the occasion. But if we compare this with the village of Kanthapura, there we see that the patterns of oppression are more complex, and though Murthy tries to convince the villagers that the white man is exploiting them economically, for the villagers the more real face of economic exploitation is the moneylender Bhatta, for instance. And now the problem here is that Bhatta is not only not a British colonizer, he is also not a foreigner or even a city bred man. In fact, as a village priest, he is thoroughly integrated within the structure of the village life, and Murthy's discourse of anti-colonial nationalism fails to address the exploitation that someone like Bhatta carries out. So, in other words, though Murthy recognizes the economic exploitation that goes on between the colonizer and the colonized, he remains at this stage in the novel impervious to the class exploitation that goes on between one Indian and another. So, almost throughout the novel, Murthy's focus primarily remains on talking about the colonial exploitation which happens between the British colonizer and the subjugated Indians, but he does not really think through the exploitation of one Indian by another, which is a class exploitation. Thus, when in chapter 15 an elderly lady asks Murthy whether his fight for freedom is going to free her from the exploitation of an Indian revenue collector who beats his own wife and who also coerces the whole village, Murthy is at a loss for answer. Hence, while reading the novel, one is never very sure whether the villagers whether they do rise and resist the oppression, but we are left slightly unsure whether this villagers' resistance that Murthy organizes is directed at the white man's government, which for most of the villagers remain a distant entity, or is it directed to the more immediate Indian exploiters like Bhatta, for instance, or the revenue collector. Because after all, in spite of Murthy's elaborate explanation of the ways in which the white man is economically exploiting the villagers, for people like Ratna, for instance, or Satamma, they find the most pleasure when they see the granary of Bhatta going up in flame, because it is Bhatta and not any white man who lends them money at exorbitant rates and who starves them and their children of food. So, the anger is very much directed at certain Indians like Bhatta, for instance, and therefore, within a colonial society, oppression is not merely evident in the relation between the British and the Indian, but also informs the class relations of one Indian to the other. Now, the novel in fact ends with Murthy realizing this class difference and class exploitation as one of the major sources of crisis in the Indian society. And thus, as an anti-colonial activist, we see that he finally changes his affiliation from Gandhian idealism to the Nehruvian dream of egalitarianism. And Murthy, therefore, though this novel is usually read as a novel, as a Gandhian novel, as almost a propaganda of Gandhian idealism, at the end of the novel, we actually see the central character Murthy transforming into a Nehruvian character and shifting his allegiance from Gandhi to Nehru. So, here we end our discussion on Kanthapura, and in our next lecture we will discuss Rabindranath Tagore and Frantz Fanon, and we will look into their distinct criticisms of the middle class led anti-colonial nationalism. Thank you.